This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Heralders. Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, October the 25th, is a legend in the U.S. hockey scene. He's the guy who scored the winning goal in the Miracle on Ice game against the Soviets that won the U.S. the game, but not the gold medal, as people think it did. But anyway, he is an author of a book about the Miracle on Ice. Well, why wouldn't he be? Anyway, he's now 70 years old. His name is Mike Eruizone. Eruizone was born October 25th, 1954, to an Italian-American family in Winthrop, Massachusetts. He was captain of the varsity hockey team in high school and went to an academy to fine-tune his hockey skills. After leaving Berwick Academy, he went to Boston University. He wanted to go somewhere else, but because his coach forgot his name, he went to Boston University. He would do well for his 4 years at BU. And Jack Parker, the legendary head coach of the Terriers, called Eruizone the Pete Rose on skates. Eruizone played in 2 World Championships for the United States in 75 and 76. He went to the IHL, playing for the Toledo Gold Diggers and helping Toledo win the IHL title. Prior to the 1980 season, Eruizone would join the U.S. amateur squad and was named captain of the 1980 Olympic hockey squad, scoring the winning goal against the Soviets. So Eruizone was going to be playing for the U.S. in 1980. His amateur status was actually brought under question because Eruizone played under contract for the IHL team prior to the 1980 Olympics. Alan Eagleson questioned it. Eruizone basically said, he's trying to take something away from me that we so richly deserve. He can't take away the memory. Is he going to try to convince everybody in the United States we lost? Anyway. He did what he could and all that. So, yeah, he was made captain of the team. You know, it was weird that a lot of the American team played for NCAA schools like Minnesota and a few other rivals of Minnesota, or Wisconsin, but practically he was playing in the IHL for Toledo. I did not know that. I thought he was still in college when he was made captain. But regardless of that, Eruizone helped the Americans out. They scored a late goal against the Swedes to tie that game and score a point, and then they kept winning games that they weren't supposed to, including against the Czechs. The Americans would be going to the medal round against Finland, the Soviets, and Sweden. The Americans would not play Sweden in the medal round because they already played them, whereas the Soviets already played Finland, so they couldn't play. So the U.S. had to play the Soviets and Finland in the medal round. Their point against Sweden carried forward, and the Soviets win over Finland carried over. So the United States were badly outmatched against the Soviets in a tune-up game, 10-3 at Madison Square Garden. But somehow, in some way, the Americans found a way to win and chased Tretiak from the net with a late goal in the first period. Of course, the Soviet coach, Viktor Tikhonov, went nuts, pulling Tretiak too soon. Regardless of that, the Americans were in it. It was 3-3 until Mike Eruizone took a slap shot with 10 minutes left in the third period, scored to make it 4-3 United States. And then we all know what happened at the end. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, as Al Michaels would say. And the Americans would win the gold medal. So, well, people think that led to the gold medal for the United States. It did, kind of, but not so much. They could have still lost to Finland and then taken silver or bronze. So after an uninspired 40 minutes against Finland, Herb Brooks basically said, if you don't win this game, you'll take it to your fucking graves. And the Americans won 4-2 and won the gold medal. So that was what they needed to do. Anyway, yeah. He scored a massive goal and all that. Sports Illustrated actually called Eruizone's goal the greatest sports moment of the 20th century. I kind of disagree. It's not because I'm biased. It's America. But I mean, there were a lot of American moments that were all that. But of course, you know, it was the Cold War and all that. Anyway, he scored the goal. But what was crazy was that of all the U.S. Olympic teams players, that Eruizone was one of 5 members on the U.S. team not drafted by an NHL team. Okay, he voiced his interest to play professionally, but he retired from competition after the Olympics, despite the Rangers giving him contract offers left, right, and center. He said he reached the pinnacle of achievement already. I mean, Eruizone could have at least played a few games in the NHL, no big deal. He was made to be the technical consultant for the 1981 made-for-TV film Miracle on Ice. And says, we all know the movie will never be equal to what happened. Eruizone would be a TV broadcaster for the NHL on USA Network and the NHL on Fox, and would actually work for 5 Olympic Games as a commentator and all of that. Eruizone said he did not regret his decision not to play pro hockey, saying, after being a commentator and covering the NHL for a few years, I have no doubt I could play. Regardless of that, he was the assistant coach for Boston University for 3 years. And reunited with his Olympic teammates to light the Olympic cauldron for the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. Anyway, yeah, and then he made a massive book in January 2020 called The Making of a Miracle about the 1980 Olympics. It was actually number 6 on the Wall Street Journal best-selling books thing. And gave an inside account of the U.S. Olympic team's path to the gold medal, including the upset of the Soviet Union in the Miracle on Ice game, as well as a portrait of Eruizone's close-knit family and the experiences in college and minor league hockey that helped them try out for the Olympic team in 1979. And he said he wanted to write the book so that his grandchildren would know there was more to his life than scoring that goal at Lake Placid. Andrew Stevens was the actor who portrayed Eruizone in the made-for-TV film, and in the Disney film Miracle, he was portrayed by Patrick O'Brien Dempsey, who actually played hockey at a state college, but because of injuries, he got hurt and then went to acting. So anyway, Eruizone actually voiced himself in the American Dad episode The Return of the Bling, in which Roger says he was a member of the 1980 U.S. hockey team called Chess Lemeru, and Stan does not believe him until Roger takes him to a team reunion at the La Quinta Inn, and Stan sees Eruizone, Mark Johnson, and Jim Craig. And Eruizone says something about that. So he did all that, everything else. Yeah, it was just shocking that, you know, he played a few years in the IHL, and, you know, he never played for the NHL. Like Ken Morrow did, Mark Johnson, Jim Craig even played some games in the NHL, but Eruizone didn't. But Eruizone is a piece of his decision, and I got to support him. Even though I know he could have played a few games. Even if he failed, dude, he made the NHL. And in the 1980s, you didn't really see a lot of American-born players in the NHL like you do 45 years later. But, like, honestly, it still would have been a good story, really. Anyway, I'm going to do